Hello fellow petrolheads. Did you ever wonder what is common between driving a car and riding a horse? Well, I guess there are many things, stereotypically even more if you think of the motorcycle. Even Mazda's design philosophy, Jinba Ittai, person and horse as one body, as a Japanese four-character compound describing unity of horse and rider, which is pertinent to Yabusami, Japanese mounted archery. This is Mazda MX-5 and D I'm driving today, by the way. There's one other thing you might not have thought about though. Gloves. Let me explain. Before I move on, this video is not sponsored. Any products I show, I bought it with my own money. Any websites shared are for reference only, and thoughts and recommendations in this video are of my own. If you disagree with what I say, please comment. If you enjoy watching it, please like and subscribe. So, why do you need driving gloves? Racing drivers are required to wear gloves to comply with racing regulations and participation compliance. Other than improving grip and regulating sweat, to avoid the steering wheel slipping in driver's hand, it also acts as a protection during potential accident, including fire and cuts from glass shards and sharp edges of damaged car body parts. That's racing, you say. What about a casual driver like me or you? Do we really need driving gloves? I'd say depends. Some logic applies as with racing, where gloves can act as a protection during an accident. However, modern cars are so packed with various safety equipment and features, including general public road driving rules, that an accident is much less likely to occur comparing to professional races, and the extent of the damage most of the time will be limited to minor body panel scratches and dents, even allowing you to continue the journey. What about sweat and grip? That's where it gets interesting. Maybe not so much for your daily work commute in traffic or weekly shopping rounds, but it gets much more relevant going away on a road trip, and especially some spirited pleasure driving on those twisty country roads for those of us who identify as petrolheads. So, what kind of gloves you may need? Let's start with basics. As already mentioned, gloves should assist in regulating sweat of your palms, improve the grip of the steering wheel, allow for adequate steering feel, do not hinder operation of various car controls, switches, and gear change, as well as could serve as a personal style accessory. Another thing to consider is matching steering wheel material to the gloves you choose. Alcantara steering wheels provide higher grip whether with gloves or without. However, it's easy to ruin, as Alcantara is generally less wear resistant, especially against the sweat, which will be absorbed by the fabric. This could be an issue for some if you aim to preserve the looks of your car, so wearing gloves is recommended. Leather or synthetic material steering wheel grip will vary much more. For example, while providing sufficient grip in normal driving condition, the grip is prone to reduce when your palms start to sweat during those crucial corners of your spirited pleasure drive, not to mention on a track. Different gloves also provide different feel, with some even reducing the grip comparing to no gloves at all. There are obviously different types of gloves. Some should be considered, others not. And here I have my first motorcycle riding gloves. Not applicable for car drives, well, even though you could consider, I guess. But there is something I would like to point out. Gloves should be really comfortable to wear. And one of the comfort aspects is stitching. Stitching could be outside, inside, flat stitching. That's especially relevant for the sportswear, where really harsh or uncomfortable stitching could cause some skin rubbing or even soft tissue damage. So it's worth looking out for in gloves too. And here I would like to show you what stitching looks like. Obviously, as you can see, it's inside stitch. Well, let's take one of the fingers, if I can manage to get it out. So, have a look at that. Quite soft and really not noticeable much when wearing at first, but after some time riding, it really gets uncomfortable. And when you consider that gloves are really something that should protect you, well, especially if you're riding a motorcycle, the same glove can actually be the cause of the accident if you cannot control your equipment properly. So, gloves like that should obviously not be worn. Another thing, at least with these gloves, in case you decide to wear it for driving, is grip. I mean, from one point of view, it should be quite okay, considering the handles of the motorcycle are in a way similar. But again, it adds additional tension towards the fingertips, and it really provides very uncomfortable feeling and pressure. And when you're riding, well, let's say even longer than 10-15 minutes, um, it becomes really painful. I mean, I kind of solved the issue temporarily by adding some cotton wool inside the fingertips to soften the feel, um, which works for short rides and wasn't at the end a big issue for me since I sold the motorcycle soon after. But if I was planning to ride it longer, obviously the gloves would have to be replaced. So, how about racing gloves? Sounds cool, right? Well, not so much when you're on public roads. Not to mention making you look a lot like a silly racer in bulky fire protective gloves where it's not necessary. In my opinion, excessive. Obviously, there are different kinds of racing gloves, and you may find something that works for you. An advantage of professional racing gloves is that those are usually made to high-level protection standards, such as fire and cut proof. It's made for prolonged comfort and to be worn in demanding environment. Might be internal, but often has external stitching. It also provides good steering feel grip as a standard. On the other hand, it can be too bulky. While being fine in a professional race car with adapted controls, buttons and switches, you may not be able to operate a modern car with its small buttons and touch controls and touch screens. Thick racing gloves may also reduce your steering feel and hinder your ability to control the car effectively. Again, not an issue in bare-bones stripped racing cars with minimal or no driving assist features, but in modern cars with electrical power steering and comfort-focused setup, racing gloves may reduce further or completely eliminate any driving pleasure and connection with your favorite machine. In addition, certified racing gloves are the most expensive option available, obviously for the reason, and has its advantages for the intended use. Karting gloves, on the other hand, do not offer any fire protection, thus usually are much cheaper than racing gloves. It may provide wet weather protection and keep the hands dry and warm. While great for the exposed nature of the kart, it will probably make your palms sweat even more inside the car. Best part though, karting gloves provide tons of grip. Looks, well, while not so ricer as racing gloves on a weekend drive, it is still up to you to decide whether this is what you want to be seen wearing. Now, sim racing gloves. As one angry forum participant described it, are an utter scam. Mostly shit quality with a heavy premium to pay, called gamer tax. In fact, many sim racers use alternatives like those I will be describing, such as gardening gloves, mechanic gloves, cycling or golf gloves, so instead of wasting everyone's time, I will move directly to those. Mechanic gloves, usually made of a grippy material, also thin enough without extra padding, which gives a good feel of the steering wheel, don't break the bank, while sturdy and long lasting. These are my mechanic slash driving gloves I got from Speed UK. I owned it for quite a while, so that's a scuffy look. Really sturdy, lightweight, flexible, and don't cost a fortune. Lovely to use on the Alcantara steering wheels, provide tons of grip. So I use it with my sim and on some of the rental track cars. On a leather wheel, I find it very slippery though. Certainly not safe to drive with. While there are different types, some with the better grip, there's one problem. Being a mechanic or whatever gloves, they look exactly as that. Do you really want to be seen driving in gloves like these? Well, and that's, I'd say, the good looking ones. I'm not going to mention even the gardening gloves. So I guess let's move on. Cycling and fitness or weightlifting gloves. In general terms, I find those to be very similar. Nice and breathable, have little grippy pads on the index and middle finger, meant for clutch brake levers, which helpful with common rubbing spots. Usually open finger, with exception to summer full finger cycling gloves versions, if that's what you prefer. I tried these ones during the track days. Works very well with the leather steering wheel due to the synthetic sort of a layer which is very grippy, but the padding is rather thick, designed for dumbbell handles, which can be quite damaging to the skin, and that thick padding I find reduces steering feel quite a bit. I have different fitness gloves which are thinner, I'd say a bit better, lighter, but different fabric on palms, thus making feel and grip on the leather steering wheel too slippery. So not good enough in my opinion. Then cycling gloves, I'd say it comes somewhere in the middle between those two which are shown. Even lighter, thinner, some perforation at the back, really breathable, comfortable, but similar the case with palm padding, slightly too thick in certain areas. Very flexible and nice to grip the steering wheel. I'd say average grip, but could be used. Finally, my latest discovery, horse riding gloves. If you think about it, horse riding gloves must withstand quite a harsh use environment and provide comfort and good grip while holding reins. On top of that, horse riding equipment often is made with style in mind, as it could be used during the rides in various locations as well as competitions. I have recently bought Rockwell Sports horse riding gloves. In fact, this brand is a German glove specialist offering glove selection for all sorts of outdoor activities, including running and cycling. These cost me €39.95, so almost 40 euros. At first I thought these are leather gloves, but seem to be some sort of a synthetic material after all. I didn't try it yet, as you can see, still new, so we'll do it together. From the first impression, it's very soft, thin, while providing some nice
grip to the touch. Some padding in important places, some non-slippery palms, slightly perforated at the back, so should be breathable. Also, fingertips are touchscreen friendly, and I think they look actually quite awesome. Let's try on. So, very light, very thin perforation. I can even see my skin a bit, so should be breathable. I went for the smaller size just to make sure that it really goes tight on my hand. I mean, I would be cautious with smaller sizes when it comes to something more thicker, like thicker leather, like I've shown you with my motorcycle riding gloves, as it can be uncomfortable, but because these are so thin and soft, I think it should be okay. Touch to the steering wheel, wow, it's really grippy. So I don't know whether you can see it on the camera. Once I just lightly grip it and pull my hands down, it's barely slipping, and I put quite a bit of force on it. So let's go for a ride and see how it works, whether it's worth those 40 euros and can be as a meaningful replacement for the driving gloves. Really love it so far. So obviously to be seen in the long term, but purely on this drive, I can definitely recommend it. It's very, very good. I love it. it looks, horse riding gloves seem to be similar to standard cold weather leather gloves or driving leather gloves. Cold weather gloves are just too warm to wear outside of the winter, in my opinion. Then driving gloves tend to be made out of stiffer leather and sometimes suede. This stiffer material creates a resistance in the closing of your fingers and can reduce the contact patch between your hands and the wheel. Just for example, I brought my thinner and softer, I think it's like Napa leather winter gloves, but it has some wool padding, so certainly too hot to wear during the summer. Grip wise, quite bad grip, I have to say. Slippery enough for me not to want to wear it while driving, even though possible. It's literally just on the edge, and well, depending on the size you have, obviously for the winter gloves you want to be comfortable. Maybe if you go for a smaller size it will be better, but this pair at least I think is too loose, so also not very good for driving. There are different styles and price ranges, obviously, of different driver gloves and alternatives. Scrolling options on Amazon, I didn't really like anything, while affordable prices, those seemed like a waste of money to me. I also tried some leather driving gloves at various shops at similar prices, usually under 50 euros, and found them not very comfortable, potentially making it even dangerous to wear while driving. Then there are premium brands. Interestingly, there is one also called Rocco, not sure if the same company. By the looks of it, those look awesome, but 300 to 400 euros price tag is not something I wish to spend on driving gloves at this point. All in all, it goes without saying that when deciding which gloves to buy, you need them to fit properly. Unfortunately for you, each brand of glove will have a slightly different fit and measurement process, which can make it tricky to find a size that fits you well. The fitment of the glove should be tight, your fingers should be just touching the ends of the gloves, the palms should be snug, and the wrist should not be baggy. Any excess material will create movement in the gloves, allowing the steering wheel to slip and lose control. Grip type also plays an important part in the selection process, and finally picking a pair of gloves that looks cool is important, but make sure not to sacrifice fitment or grip in order to have a pair of gloves that match your aesthetics. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think. Share what gloves you use in the comments below. And please like and subscribe. Bye. So I just got back from the Nürburgring, tested the horse riding gloves on the Nordschleife. I have to say it did really well, so definitely recommend it. Something I kept repeating is about the stitching. So didn't mention that it does have internal stitching after all. Not sure if you can see it, a bit poor lighting, but because the fabric is so thin and soft, it's not a problem. So overall, tested on the public roads as well as on the track. Gloves, horse riding gloves, do perform well with the leather steering wheel after all. So definitely recommend it. And on that note, thank you for listening and take care. Bye.